For 3 months, Jasmine Williams wrote a note to her teacher every single Friday. Just a folded piece of notebook paper left on Ms. Peterson's desk after class. Simple words. Thank you for seeing me. You make me feel smart. Today was hard, but you helped. She was 14, black, living in a neighborhood where gunshots were more common than birdsong. Ms. Peterson was 52, white, teaching English at an underfunded public school where half the students couldn't read at grade level. Then one Friday in October, everything changed. A substitute teacher found one of Jasmine's notes and posted it online. By Monday morning, it had 6 million views. By Tuesday, the phone calls started. By Wednesday, Jasmine was sitting in a television studio in New York City, trying to understand how a private moment between her and her teacher had become a national conversation about education, race, and what it means to be seen. 3 months earlier, Jasmine had walked into Ms. Peterson's 9th grade English class expecting nothing. She'd learned not to expect much from school. Her previous teachers had been a rotation of exhausted faces who taught from textbooks that were falling apart, who called on her less than other students, who seemed relieved when she stayed quiet. She'd spent 8th grade invisible, sitting in the back row, getting CS and DS, not because she was stupid but because no one seemed to notice whether she tried or not. Ms. Peterson was different from the first day. She'd rearranged the desks into a circle. No front row, no back row. Everyone facing everyone. We're going to talk in this class, Ms. Peterson had said on that first day. Not just listen. Talk. Your voices matter here. Jasmine had rolled her eyes. She'd heard that before. Teachers always said things like that at the beginning of the year. Then by October, they'd given up, gone back to worksheets and quiet rows and detention slips for anyone who disrupted the silence. But Ms. Peterson didn't give up. The second week, they read a poem by Langston Hughes. Ms. Peterson asked what it meant. Silence. Kids stared at their desks. Then Ms. Peterson looked directly at Jasmine. What do you think it means? Jasmine's stomach tightened. I don't know. Yes, you do. You were nodding when I read the last line. What made you nod? Jasmine hesitated. The whole class was looking at her now. I guess it's about being invisible. Like people look through you instead of at you. Ms. Peterson smiled. Not a fake teacher smile. A real one. That's exactly right. Keep going. And Jasmine did. For the first time in years, she kept going. By the end of September, Jasmine was raising her hand. Not every day, but some days. She was reading the assignments, actually reading them, not just skimming the first page. She was writing more than the minimum required paragraphs. Ms. Peterson noticed. She wrote comments on Jasmine's essays. Real comments. Not just good work or needs improvement. She wrote things like, "This insight is brilliant. Have you thought about expanding it?" Or, "Your voice is so clear here. Don't lose that." One Friday, after a particularly hard week, Jasmine had stayed after class. Ms. Peterson was erasing the board. "Thank you," Jasmine said quietly. Ms. Peterson turned. "For what?" "For acting like what I say matters." Ms. Peterson set down the eraser. She walked over and sat on the edge of her desk. "It does matter, Jasmine. You matter." Jasmine didn't know what to say to that. She just nodded and left. But that night, lying in her bed in the apartment she shared with her mom and 2 younger brothers, she couldn't stop thinking about it. You matter. When was the last time someone had said that to her? When was the last time she'd believed it? The next Friday, she wrote the first note. Just a few sentences on a piece of notebook paper, folded in half, left on Ms. Peterson's desk. "Thank you for seeing me." She didn't sign it. Didn't need to. Ms. Peterson would know. The following Monday, Ms. Peterson pulled her aside after class. "I got your note," she said softly. Jasmine felt her face get hot. "It's okay if you thought it was weird." "I didn't think it was weird. I thought it was one of the kindest things anyone's ever said to me." Ms. Peterson paused. "Teaching is hard, Jasmine. Most days, I don't know if I'm getting through to anyone. Your note reminded me why I do this." Jasmine looked up. "Really? Really?" So Jasmine kept writing. Every Friday, a new note. Sometimes they were about class. "I loved the book we read this week." Sometimes they were about life. My mom got laid off. I'm scared. Sometimes they were just gratitude. You make me feel smart. Ms. Peterson never responded in writing, but she'd catch Jasmine's eye during class and nod. Or she'd leave a book on Jasmine's desk, something she thought Jasmine would like. Or she'd ask how Jasmine's mom was doing, how her brothers were. Small things, but they weren't small to Jasmine. Jasmine's home life was complicated. Her mom, Patricia, worked 2 jobs, one at a call center during the day, one cleaning offices at night. Money was always tight. The apartment was in a building where the heat didn't always work, where the elevator was broken more often than it was fixed, where police cars were a permanent fixture on the corner. Jasmine's dad had left when she was 6. She barely remembered him. Her brothers, Marcus and Dion, were 9 and 7. Jasmine was responsible for them most afternoons. Pick them up from school, make sure they did homework, heat up dinner, get them to bed. Her mom usually got home around 11 p.m., exhausted, collapsing on the couch still in her work uniform. There wasn't money for after-school programs or tutors or college prep courses. There wasn't money for much of anything. Jasmine wore the same 3 outfits to school on rotation. She'd outgrown her shoes months ago but hadn't told her mom because she knew there wasn't money to replace them. She did her homework on her phone because they didn't have a computer. When her phone battery died, she did it by hand under the kitchen light that flickered every few minutes. But Ms. Peterson's class became a refuge. For 50 minutes every day, Jasmine could think about something other than bills and responsibilities and whether there'd be enough food for the week. She could think about books and ideas and the way words could build entire worlds. One Friday in early October, Jasmine wrote a longer note than usual. I don't know if I'm smart enough for college. My guidance counselor said I should think about vocational school. But when I'm in your class, I feel like maybe I could do more. Maybe I could be more. Thank you for making me believe that. She folded it, left it on the desk, and went home. That was the note that changed everything. Miss Peterson was absent the following Monday. A substitute teacher, young, maybe mid-20s, was covering the class. She was going through the desk drawers looking for the lesson plan when she found Jasmine's note. She read it. Then, without thinking, without asking, she took a photo of it and posted it on Twitter. "This is why teachers teach," the caption read. By lunchtime, the tweet had 10,000 likes. By the end of the school day, 100,000. By Tuesday morning, 6 million. News outlets picked it up. Local stations, then national ones. Heartwarming note from student to teacher goes viral. Teen's gratitude letter reminds us why teachers matter. Powerful message from struggling student touches millions. Jasmine didn't know any of this was happening. She didn't have Twitter. Her phone was old, barely functional. She went to school Tuesday like normal. But when she walked into English class, everything felt wrong. Kids were staring at her, whispering. Miss Peterson was back, standing at her desk, her face pale. "Jasmine," Miss Peterson said quietly, "can we talk in the hall?" Jasmine's stomach dropped. What had she done wrong? In the hallway, Miss Peterson closed the door. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to stay calm." "What happened?" "The note you left on Friday. The substitute found it and posted it online. It's gone viral." Jasmine didn't understand. "What does that mean?" "It means millions of people have seen it. News stations are calling the school. Reporters are asking about you." The world tilted. Why would she post it? That was private. "I know. I'm so sorry." She had no right. Ms. Peterson's voice was tight with anger. "The principal wants to meet with you and your mom. There are people who want to interview you." "I don't want to be interviewed. I just wanted to say thank you." "I know, sweetheart. I know." But it was too late. The machine was already in motion. By Wednesday, Jasmine's mom had missed work to deal with phone calls. A producer from a national morning show had reached out. They wanted Jasmine to come to New York to tell her story on air. "We'll fly you and your mom out," the producer said on the phone. "Put you in a hotel. It's just a 10-minute segment. We want to celebrate you." Patricia was skeptical. Celebrate her for what? Writing a note. For her resilience. for her gratitude, for representing students who are overlooked. Patricia looked at Jasmine, sitting on the couch, looking smaller than usual. "What do you think, baby?" Jasmine didn't know what to think. Part of her was angry that something private had been made public. Part of her was scared of what this attention meant. But another part, a small part, wondered if maybe this could lead to something good. "Will Ms. Peterson be there?" Jasmine asked. The producer paused. "We can arrange that." Then okay. They flew out Thursday night. Jasmine had never been on a plane before. Never been out of her state. The city was overwhelming. Tall buildings and crowds and noise that never stopped. The hotel room was nicer than anywhere she'd ever stayed. 2 beds, a bathroom with towels that were actually soft, a TV that worked. Her mom cried when they closed the door. Not sad crying. Overwhelmed crying. "Look at this place," Patricia whispered. Jasmine sat on the bed. It was so soft she sank into it. "Mom, what if I say something stupid?" "You won't." "What if people hate me?" Patricia sat beside her, pulled her close. "Baby, people already love you. That note showed them who you are. Just be yourself." Friday morning. They arrived at the studio at 6 a.m. Makeup, wardrobe, a green room with fruit and pastries. Jasmine was too nervous to eat. Miss Peterson arrived at 6:30. When Jasmine saw her, she started crying. "I'm sorry," Jasmine said. "Sorry for what?" "For making this a big thing. You were just being a good teacher." Miss Peterson hugged her. "You have nothing to apologize for. I'm proud of you." At 7:45, a production assistant led them to the set. Bright lights, cameras, the host sitting across from them with a smile that looked practiced. "We're live in 60 seconds, someone called. Jasmine's hands were shaking. Miss Peterson reached over and squeezed one. "Just tell the truth." The interview started. The host asked Jasmine about school, about her life, about why she wrote the notes. Jasmine answered carefully. She talked about feeling invisible in previous classes, about how Miss Peterson made her feel seen, about how one teacher caring could change everything. Then the host turned to Miss Peterson. "What was it like receiving these notes?" Miss Peterson's eyes filled with tears. It was a reminder that teaching isn't about test scores or curriculum standards. It's about connection. It's about seeing students as whole people, not just names on a roster. The host nodded. "And Jasmine, what do you want people to know?" Jasmine looked at the camera. Millions of people were watching. She thought about her mom working 2 jobs, about her brothers, about all the kids in her school who felt invisible. "I want people to know that there are a lot of kids like me, kids who are smart and trying, but the system doesn't see them. We need more teachers like Miss Peterson. We need schools that have enough books and heat that works and teachers who aren't so exhausted they can't care." Her voice got stronger. "And I want people to know that I'm not special because I wrote a note. I'm just a kid who got lucky enough to have one teacher who saw me. Every kid deserves that." The segment ended. The host thanked them. The cameras cut. Jasmine exhaled. "You were perfect," Miss Peterson said. The response was immediate. By noon, Jasmine's interview had been clipped and shared across every platform. Comments poured in. Most were supportive. "This girl is incredible. We need to fund our schools. Teachers like Ms. Peterson are heroes." But some weren't. "Why is this news? Kids should be grateful for their teachers. She's just looking for attention. This is what happens when we lower standards." Jasmine read some of the comments on her mom's phone that night back in the hotel. Her chest felt tight. "People think I'm lying," she said quietly. Patricia took the phone away. "People who've never struggled don't understand struggle. Don't let them make you small." But the criticism stung. When they flew home Saturday, Jasmine felt exhausted. She'd missed 2 days of school, missed taking care of her brothers, missed the routine that kept her grounded. Monday morning, walking into school felt different. Kids pointed. Some congratulated her. Others whispered. One girl in her history class said loudly, "Must be nice getting famous for being poor." Jasmine's face burned. At lunch, she sat alone. Miss Peterson found her in the library after school. How are you holding up? I don't know. I feel like everyone's looking at me differently. They are. But that'll fade. What won't fade is what you said. You spoke truth, Jasmine. That matters. Does it? Nothing's changed. The school is still falling apart. Kids are still struggling. Miss Peterson sat down beside her. Change doesn't happen overnight. But it starts with people like you being brave enough to name what's broken. 2 weeks later, something did change. A non-profit organization that had seen Jasmine's interview reached out. They wanted to establish a scholarship fund in her name. $50,000 for students at her school who showed academic promise despite financial hardship. Jasmine would help select recipients. Why me? Jasmine asked during the phone call. Because you understand what these students are facing. You've lived it. The first scholarship was awarded in December. A senior named Marcus, no relation to her brother, who'd been working nights at a fast food restaurant to help his family. He wanted to study engineering but couldn't afford application fees. The scholarship covered those fees plus his first year of community college. At the ceremony, Marcus hugged Jasmine. You changed my life, he said. Jasmine thought about Miss Peterson, about how one person caring had changed her life, about how that caring had rippled outward, reaching people she'd never met. By the end of the school year, the scholarship fund had grown to $200,000. 12 students received aid. The school got a grant to update their library. Ms. Peterson was named Teacher of the Year by the district. And Jasmine, who'd started the year invisible, ended it with college acceptance letters. For schools offered her full rides. She chose a state university 2 hours from home. Close enough to visit her mom and brothers. Far enough to build something new. On the last day of school, Jasmine wrote one final note to Miss Peterson. You told me I mattered. I didn't believe you at first, but you kept showing me until I did. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. I'll carry that forever. She left it on the desk after class. Miss Peterson read it that afternoon, sitting alone in her classroom. She cried. Not sad tears, grateful ones. 1 year later, Jasmine was thriving at college. Majoring in education. She wanted to teach English, wanted to be for other kids what Miss Peterson had been for her. She still wrote Miss Peterson notes. Not every week, but sometimes. Updates on her classes, her life, her dreams. Miss Peterson wrote back now. Long emails full of encouragement and pride. The viral moment had faded. People moved on to the next story. But what remained was the connection between a teacher and a student. The proof that being seen could change a life. That kindness wasn't small. That one person caring could start a ripple that reached further than anyone imagined. Jasmine returned to her old school that spring to speak at an assembly. She stood in front of 500 students and told them what she'd learned. You matter, she said. Even when the world tells you you don't. Even when the system ignores you. You matter. She looked at Miss Peterson sitting in the front row. And if you're lucky enough to find someone who sees you, hold on to that. Let it change you. Then pass it on. The assembly ended. Students filed out. But one girl stayed behind. Freshman, black, sitting in the back row looking uncertain. Can I ask you something? The girl said. Of course. Did you really think you weren't smart enough for college? Jasmine sat down beside her. Every single day. But you are smart. So are you. Don't let anyone tell you different. The girl's eyes filled with tears. Jasmine pulled a piece of paper from her bag and wrote something down. Her email address. Write to me if you need to. I'll write back. I promise. The girl took the paper like it was something precious. Thank you. Jasmine watched her walk away. Thought about a note left on a desk. About how small acts of kindness weren't small at all. They were everything. The scholarship fund Jasmine inspired has now awarded over $500,000 to students in need. Ms. Peterson continues teaching. Jasmine is on track to graduate with honors and return to teach in her community. What started with a folded note became a movement. Proof that seeing people really seeing them changes everything.